So this week, Sony dropped the PlayStation 5 UI in a very out of the blue state of play. I think I was playing Rocket League or something, and I have a Twitter feed up, and it popped up, and it was like, "Hey, check out our UI." I was like, "Oh, cool." So yeah, like you have to help me out a lot here, but I looked through this and I was like, wow, because I've got a PS4, I don't have an Xbox One. To me, this just absolutely destroys the PS4 interface. I've always felt it to be really clunky. This is like very centered, and they've really, to me, built it around, actually playing the games and using the console. So, it's very big on the rest mode. As soon as you boot up, bang, you're in the game. You can just get into it really, really quickly. It's there to play. And this new feature that I thought was really, really cool, actually, and it's perfect for someone like me, this whole thing around activities. So they actually show, and it's got something to do with the trophy stuff, but you've got your activities, but it actually tells you, like, linked into the actual game itself, hey, this is an activity that you could do. It's going to take you 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you can actually get into that part and, complete those challenges. And I'm sure, like, part of it, I'm not sure, I can't recall if it's like always associated with the trophies for that game. And then, there's a whole host of other features we want to jump into, but just on the activities thing, for me, that's so good because, I have the issue of maybe sometimes I can only get in half an hour of gaming. So the quicker it gets in, that's huge for me. And that's why I love the Switch, because I can just bang, get right into it. And the quicker I can just pause it or get into another game, that's awesome. So yeah, like what did you think about it? Because you're obviously familiar with the Xbox interface. Did you look at it and go, oh wow, I wish we had some of that stuff? Or
so I up front, just like you're not as familiar with definitely the Xbox One interface, I'm definitely not familiar with any of the recent PlayStation interfaces in any way. So keep that in mind whenever I'm giving my thoughts about this whole thing. The activities thing's cool. I really like the fact that it seems like some things will be able to take you straight to that part of the game. I do have my doubts, very big doubts about how that will be applied, because you've got something like Sackboy, the adventure game, and I'm sure Astrobot and a lot of the first party or the Sony titles, they will implement it really well. But what does that mean for every other game? How well are developers going to stay on top of that? Is it going to be a feature that kind of is optional for developers to do? If so, does that mean it's just going to be a trophy tracker, which is cool? But the whole, I click to go to that part of the game, well, that's definitely not going to work in a lot of games. Imagine God of War, you're not going to just... Maybe if God of War has like a fast travel system, it could fast travel you to the part of the game, part of the map, that has that challenge or whatever. I do like the amount of time it takes, but a lot of that is very subjective and down to player skills. So that is always like a very loose estimate, I think. So I'm hesitantly positive about it, if that makes sense. It's cool. I don't know if it was the best idea to open with that, because it felt like you went straight in. Yeah, you went straight in. You're like, what are all these cards? What's going on? Like, to me, like, I think they probably should have built up to it a little bit. But I like the idea.
Okay. Like, I think you're 100% right. Like, it's how well they execute it is going to be a big thing. This is kind of something to me that they will either do it the right way or the wrong way. And in my opinion, the right way is to heavily rely on data. So have a baseline. Any developer, if they're doing the activity thing, it's kind of like, this is when you start it, this is when you finish it. You need to input some base level in there, right? Which is like the default that would give you a guide that you're playing, right? And then you heavily rely on data. Like, so I think you're on the quicker side in terms of gaming. If I was to put this in parlance of reading, you're like a fast reader. Like, you get through a game faster than the average person, right? I'm definitely a slow reader, like actually a slow reader, but I'm also slow at games. Like, I'll play and it'll be like double the amount of time that you probably take to get through a game.
It depends.
So,
Honestly, it depends on the game.
oh yeah, sure, but I'm just saying in general. I think like if just you had to say randomly pick a game, I'd say that's true. Now, like they need to just use data to be able to support this stuff. So it's like if someone's slow, they can see that through the data. They just like with true achievements, which is a site you're pretty big on. Like that's using data to judge, hey, how hard is it to get this achievement? How easy is it? And develop a rating, right? Like they could do the same thing with this. And I hope that that's how they're doing it. I think it'd be a real big error if they did it so that it's like they're really relying on what the developers think it would take to get through something. And they're not using sort of like that big data approaches to go, well, wait a second, we have millions of people playing the console. Why don't we use that information to be able to do it? So no, like I am super interested in this. I think the fact that it's so snappy and quick is actually like making me really excited about this next gen versus the current gen, which I've always been a bit, just felt it was really, really slow. It's slow to get into games, slow to load things. And like I've always said, for me with time, it's really critical these days. And something I've liked, I know, I sound like a Switch stan or something, but I've always liked about the Switch. And when everyone's complained about, oh, the UI hasn't changed, I can just turn it on and just get straight into a game and it gets out of my way and I can play, which is cool. But yeah, like, do you want to chat about the other features that it has?
Yeah, I quite like the game help feature.
That's interesting.
So if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, and you need help on I guess it's related to those game cards or those activities that pop up in the control center, that you can view a game help feature that has integrated like video guides and things like that. It's interesting. It's limited to PlayStation Plus, and no, I don't know the percentage of people that are PlayStation Plus subscribers, but I wonder if the people that probably need those videos the most for help are maybe the people that are super casual gamers that may
Yeah,
not have
true.
PlayStation Plus. But that's a cool feature. The whole snap to the side. I mean, it's very reminiscent of the Xbox Snap feature that kind of got phased out. I guess based on the data. Well, there was a few things there they were wanting to, I guess, reallocate the system resources, so the Snap feature went away to help with that. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, I actually used the snap feature, but I used it to snap the achievement tracker to the side of the screen, and now you can
That's
just
cool. Yeah.
now you just overlay it on top instead, so you don't need the snapper. But I like that idea. I don't. It We'll see whether or not it's something that people use. I have a feeling that if they see that not a lot of people are using it, that may get phased out eventually. But hey, you never know. Maybe it becomes a super useful thing for everyone.
I think, those picture in picture type stuff and like snapping. So like, snapping it so that the game's on the right or the left or whatever. I feel like they live and die by how easy it is to get into that mode, rearrange things. You know what I mean? Doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
I find that when it's not intuitive, people just don't know about it, don't use it. And then, yeah, they'll come through the data for sure. So I was the same as you. I thought it was really, really cool, that feature.
Yeah, probably my favorite thing of this whole showcase was being able to view friends' gameplay feed
Yeah,
and
that's so sick.
put that picture in picture, and that's
Yeah,
something
that's so
that
sick.
I swear they talked about that last gen, where they would start introducing that stuff. I swear, because it was definitely before this next gen features and things started to get discussed, in the last 12 to 18 months, and that stuff just never eventuated last gen. Like they talked about being able to pick up gameplay, using cloud streaming and stuff from, oh, you pick up a game from where your friend was playing it and stuff like, and that none of that stuff ever happened. So this is really cool because I love the idea of, hey, you're on voice chat with someone, you're both playing through a game, and you can kind of have their screen there if you want to see it, or their screen playing something completely separate. I'm just the other day, no joke. So I was doing some grinding in Final Fantasy VII. I was spectating in Smash Brothers. I was watching Reddit and I was listening to reading Reddit on my phone and I was listening to a podcast. I was doing 4 things at once. And I think we're all at that point these days where we're kind of like trying to, what's the term? What's the RPG term? Oh my god, min-max.
Min-max?
You're trying to
Yeah, yeah.
min-max your time.
How do you not remember min-max and I
No,
remember
I had a brain fart moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
I
trying to
love the word min-max.
min-max your time so that you get doing everything as efficiently as possible. And I like this idea.
You know, I've tried to introduce min-max at the bank that I work at as a term because I think it's such a good term. It's because it's very like, it's very visual to me, the term.
Yeah.
Like when you understand what it means, it's such a great word. Yeah, look, like the whole streaming and everything, like I think I would have got in a lot of trouble if we tried to make predictions about next gen. So if we were doing this podcast a year ago, at some stage we would have been like, let's sit down and predict what is going to be in the consoles, because I really expected them to go harder on the streaming part of it. And I was kind of expecting them, like one of the brands at least, to do a deal with Amazon and Twitch to have that fully integrated. Like for instance, like you could have I know, like, and to be clear, people are going to correct me. I know that there's the PS camera and all these things, but I'm talking about something I can just go in the store, get the PS5 Twitch camera, put it on a tripod in front of me. It has automated, like, you know, detection of my background, so it cuts me out, puts it in a logical way. So it's just kind of like a, you know, the easiest way to jump into streaming at a good quality. You know what I mean? And have like the Twitch chat on the left, you're playing a game on the right. They are seeing, you know, the right version of that. It has inbuilt transitions. Like I would have went really hard on that prediction.
Xbox went hard on that last gen or current.
Yeah, but it was too early. It's too early.
Yeah,
it's
I know, but you said
thing.
But they've done that. That's the thing, is they've backpedaled all that. Obviously, they've shut down Mixer, which is a huge part of that. But they, like, all the integration, everything. Now, I won't say in what you're saying in terms of, you buy like a prepackaged camera thing and all. Like the camera part's probably the only thing and things like that. But it's they did go hard on it, and I think they realized that the people that are going to do that, they're probably more interested in doing it the proper way, or like doing it like because as I said, like they've tried all that, and it just obviously the numbers didn't show that it was working for them. A big part of that is also the fact that obviously it wasn't Twitch, but they have had a huge part of it. But they've also, you know, like they've made steps towards that. But yeah, I honestly don't. I think they've tried that, and I don't think it's the way that they wanted to go.
Yeah. So, like, timing is massive. You know, like there were social media networks before Facebook that did everything Facebook did, but you almost need to be at the right place at the right time with these things. And I think last gen, like this gen, current gen, it's too early. And I think the next gen, where you're building it in mind and you can actually have more hardware integration into that stuff. I don't know. Personally, I was just surprised. And I would love to know if they thought about it. And I do feel like some of it is to do with, there's only really 2 companies that could do this, Sony and Microsoft. Microsoft, when they were developing this console, because remember, they were developing it like 3-4 years ago. They were deep into their own streaming platform as an idea, right? So they wouldn't have even been entertaining Twitch. And then Sony, again, is a Japanese company. You know, yes, they deal with American companies, but it's totally different. And, you know, if Twitch was like a Japanese company, maybe it would happen, right? Yeah, I don't know. I was just a bit surprised. Because Sony does love to create accessories. You can see that with the lineup. They have so many accessories, and they're all like, you know, with the same branding and everything like that. And I don't know. I just would have thought if they had that deep integration, and I would still believe. I understand that there's been an example already that failed. I just think, yeah, you get on the right platform, which is Twitch, and if it's really easy and, you know, it's a safe thing as well. Like, I feel like that's an element as well. You know, that would have been really interesting, but it's not going to happen. Yeah, and that was probably the only thing that surprised me. And just one thing I wanted to call out is all the changes they've made this week to the PS4, and then this is all because of the PS5. So there's some changes to the way they're going to do voice chat moderation. which I thought was really interesting. The way they handled it was really poor, so much so that Sony themselves pretty much apologized for how they explained it to people. So essentially, they're going to progressively record 5 minutes of your chat at all times, and then, obviously, like, only keep the last 5 minutes. And if you do have an example of abuse or something like that in the voice chat, you can submit 40 seconds of audio for review to the moderation team. I personally think this is a great idea. I'm not sure if you think it's a bad idea or invasion of privacy or something like that.
I think it's a good idea, but they have to be very careful, and I think that it needs to be made incredibly clear every single time you join a voice chat that has been recorded that is happening. It's similar to, when you call a company and they say this is being recorded, there's legal reasons why that has to happen, but it makes you, it does give you a heads up, because the reason why I think that is, then that's going to make people not do it. It's almost like, as in, like, it's
not abuse, you mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's like preventative measure, where it's like, crap, at any time, that's right, I joined, that's right, they've got this new thing. I'm not going to start calling everyone racist, terms and stuff, which is, like, that stuff happens, we know, like, it's horrible. So that's why this is a good thing, because then you can, you're able to cash that stuff out, because a lot of that abuse will happen over voice chat, not, people can report when people direct message them and stuff, but that's not where the most of it happens. It's on the voice chat in open lobbies and Call of Duty. And that's the question is it...
That's what I was going to say, Call of Duty.
Is it, like... Because I don't know how the chat works on PlayStation, but you've got, like, obviously the party chat and the individual chats, and then you've got the game chats when you join the games. So is it everything?
I think it's any voice chat.
Okay. All right.
Because I think, to be honest, there'd be a huge amount of abuse in parties as well, even with friends and stuff like that. So, yeah, look, I think it's good. I think, it's funny because I'm a big privacy nut, but I look at that as, if I'm using WhatsApp, my phone, like, to me, they're absolutely utilities. Whereas I don't think going on voice chat on a video game is a utility. I just think that that's a community. And it should be moderated, and I shouldn't go on as a female or as a African American or a person of color and hear racist commentary or sexist like, that's BS. I hate that shit. That's actually, seriously, I'm very anti voice chat and anti all that stuff. I turn it all off because I can't stomach it. It's like hearing the internet. That's what it feels like to me. And there's just so many idiots on the internet, so. I think it's a good thing, and I think they should go hard. And people do that kind of stuff. I think they should, just have their feature turned off completely. Like, they can't voice chat with their friends or anyone if they do that shit.
So a couple of other things I just want to ask about this whole new interface. And again, this is where the ignorance of my not knowing how the past things worked. I'd always heard that Xbox was well ahead in some regards in terms of, like, party chat and things like that. How they were showing stuff in this showcase that the 360 had. I'm like, wait, so people like that control center thing where you pop up, and I really want to say this is not being, they haven't had it, like, Android's had stuff that Apple's introduced. I'm actually curious. So how did that work with, like, party chats before?
It's just really, the whole thing's really clunky, man. Like, everything to me about the PS4 interface is super clunky. Like, the settings are all over the place. The PlayStation Store is so slow.
Yeah, they said it's
so slow.
They said it was a separate app before.
Yeah, dude, It's so slow. It's like you're launching into it loads, right? Like again, just from a business sense, it's crazy because the amount of friction it introduces, and that, like, they're gonna make more money because this is faster. And like, Amazon's done great studies on 0.1 of a second contributes to X amount of sales lost. And it's magnitudes more than that, how slow PS Store is. It's just a really clunky interface. Like, when you click into your version of, like, a command center, it's sort of like shows the games, and it's very just hard to get to what you want to do, and it's not intuitive. And you get it, like, when you play it all the time, where to go. But, like, for instance, when my wife grabbed like, and she had to check where she was from a trophy perspective. She didn't know how the hell to navigate it. It was like, where do I go? Where, like, do I go right? Like, where am I? And then, yeah, looking at this one, it's completely changed in my view. And very much, yeah, like you're saying, kind of like getting to what 360 had and what, Xbox has already had. And I actually had a question for you. I'm not sure if this is right or not. With the Xbox, are they actually unifying the user interface? So Xbox Series X and Xbox One X will have the same interface. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm currently using the interface that the
That's
One
cool.
X uses. Like I'm
That's
using
really
it
cool.
now.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It is cool, but there's an element of me that is like, if you were getting a new console, you want that new feeling as well.
I love that. I love that kind of like, oh man, like look how it loads. I remember the PS3. I was like, damn, look how cool this looks.
Yeah, it's like the new, like the new car
new hotness.
feeling or whatever. It's like, oh, this is new. So you lose that. You definitely lose that. The fact that if I went and got a Series X, God, I have to think every time I say that.
It's
name.
so bad.
If I went and got a Series X, it'd just be like booting up my One X. So
If
it's
I got
like,
a Series X,
yeah, I know.
as
But
if there's any doubt. I still believe, and we'll get to it soon because I've got some confirmation you're not going to like to hear. But if you can get a hand on the Series X this year, I think you will.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're changing. I love it.
No. See, the thing is, I've said before, all it takes is one game, and that game isn't there. Like if they
Valhalla.
no, but Valhalla's on.
But you're not, dude.
No,
you want to play it on the
no,
best.
you don't understand me then, because I will always multi-platform, and I always start with the worst version.
Okay.
Because if you start with the good version, going down to the worst version feels
Tough,
crappy. Yeah.
I
I always
get that as
start
well.
with the worst version.
To be honest, I do that as well. So like, I have Monster Hunter World, but I'm actually going to play Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS because I figure if I play World, I'm going to be like, oh my god, I can't go back. Like from a systems, quality of life, everything. Yeah. So I do get that.
But no, like if they turned around and said there's a Dark Souls 3 like special edition that like whatever that runs at 60 frames a second, like they did. That's why I bought an Xbox One, because they did that Dark Souls 2. And so that's an example of where I'm like, yes, now I get one.
Hey, can I just ask like this is embarrassing? Dark Souls 4.
Yeah.
Like, is that in development? Like, is that a thing? Am I like asking a really dumb question by saying that? Or
well, they're still working on Elden Ring.
So that whole team is on Elden Ring.
Well, I mean, there has been cases before where they've had like an A team and a B team, and they rotate development.
But the A team's on Elden Ring.
Well, I don't know. I'd assume so. But they worked on Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 simultaneously, and I guess there was crossover. Dark Souls 3 there as well.
Okay.
But look, no doubt they're putting in work, but I actually have a feeling if they're working on anything else right now, they're probably working on Bloodborne 2.
But I think that's almost one of those official unofficial things.
Well, it's more like, okay, I think the Dark Souls series is kind of is in a good place right now, and they should build the other IPs. So I think that's why they would do that. Yeah.
And before we move on, just the last thing, because it was kind of strange, because this was showing off the user interface, but it gave us the best look at Sackboy, the new game that's coming out. And actually, a lot of people are now hyped about Sackboy after watching the UI trailer and showcase. I was like, whoa, this is 3D World, Mario 3D World.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Such a clone of it.
I'd assumed that game had been shown off quite a bit.
Nah, there hadn't been that much gameplay footage of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it felt like Genshin Impact or something. It's like, what the hell? Are they just trying to copy all the Nintendo games? It was pretty shameless, man. Like some of the parts that we saw. I was like, Jesus. Like they've just literally taken it and put a different skin on in some places.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that because that stuff used to happen all the time in games. It's like suddenly... It basically creates like almost like a new subgenre platformer, that kind of isometric 3D kind of platformer. So
Eight directional, yeah, yeah. It's a weird feeling game. It's cool. I like it, but it's definitely different. All right. Well, why don't we get into some of the smaller news items? Starting with one again. This year's been full of things that we've heard of many times, and they've eventuated. Even though I had some doubts on one or two that I won't mention again.